And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Well, hey guys. How are you? What's happening, Joe?
A whole lot of fun.
Oh, good. I like to hear about it.
I got such a bad joke. I can't say it. I feel like an immigrant in Texas today.
Oh my God.
Running all over the place.
Well, you know what? You're lucky you can do it.
It could have been worse. Yeah,
could have been worse.
Exactly.
It could definitely be worse. Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. This is the Hair Loss Show. Welcome. Thank you for hanging on and waiting for the broadcast to be late, which happens, as you know, if you're a regular live viewer or listener. Let me give out the phone number. It's 888-659-3727. I'm live from Los Angeles. Joe Tillman is live from his new studio in Vancouver, British Columbia, and we are here to provide you with information, education, and answers to your questions about anything and everything hair loss and this insane multi-billion-dollar ridiculous hair loss industry. You know, 99% of all products and services that claim to stop, prevent, or treat hair loss in this field do not work. That's just the facts. I've been doing this for 24 years, and I have to say, not much has improved. We have some treatments that have, evolved along the way. Hair transplant surgery, when done to state-of-the-art standards, is great. We have finasteride. We have minoxidil. We now have oral minoxidil, which was used early on in my career, but then kind of lost its cachet, but is now back. We have platelet-rich plasma therapy, which we know has helped a lot of people, but not all PRP is created equal. We have low-level laser light therapy, which is hit or miss as well. And we have all the rest of the bullshit that's being sold to you every day, to your vulnerable brothers and sisters and mothers and grandparents, to people who are trying to help their kids, to people who are making $50,000, $60,000 a year and think, well, maybe I could try this $4,000 helmet and it will solve my problems. And that's really what this industry is all about. I hate to be so blunt about it, Joe, but that's just the truth. Most of what's being sold out there is a lie.
I'll go one step further. I think that it's like while you're talking about this, I'm listening to you, and it hit me. Someone who is not having a lot of success with their own business is making shit up as they go, and it kind of snowballs, and people start picking it up, and it's the next big thing.
Yes.
And then it lasts for about 8 months to maybe a year and a half. And then it's kind of revealed for what it is, kind of it might do something, but we don't really think it does much, but can't hurt. And then something else comes along.
Right.
And I'm getting kind of sick of it. Like, I'm kind of tired of it. Like, if the PRP, the exosomes, the lasers, the oral minoxidil, it's like none of it really makes a big difference. Like, it can, here and there make a nice improvement for some people. But sometimes I just get frustrated. I get tired of seeing all these different treatments presented. And I'm not talking about like the strip mall Medi-spas.
Yeah.
I'm talking about high level clinics. They're promoting this stuff too. And I can say that on some level they're maybe a bit more, judicious with how they present it, but it's still being presented, and it's like, come on, guys, stop throwing, spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks.
Well,
Stick with what works.
Yeah, I mean, look, PRP's been around for a long time. We know that in the right hands for the right patient, that's a real option. We know that. The problem is every month, every year, every day, practically, someone is trying to put their own twist on these potential treatments or these treatments. And there's really no true standard of care. No, these guys are not getting together. They may have their meetings. And, obviously we're doing the Global Hair Loss Summit in about 2.5 months. And they present what they present, and they share their information. But it's rare that they go outside of these venues to figure out, okay, this should be a standard protocol. Because sadly, in many cases, everyone wants just to get a leg up on the other practice.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. And I would love to see that change. We're trying to make some changes. We've made a lot of changes over the last couple of years, but we're trying to make some more changes this year. And if I'm around to see those changes happen, I hope they're good. I think they're going to be good changes. Anyway, we can go on forever. We have a full board. If you have any questions or concerns, just need to vent. This is your safe place. If you don't know who Joe Tillman is, which is insane if you don't, he is the original hair transplant mentor. He's a guy who's been dealing with hair loss since he was like 4, I think. But
5.
Yeah. But he's been in the trenches in this field for about 2 decades. And he knows where all the bodies are buried. He's also a guy who's had 9 hair transplants himself. I like the light. 10. I keep saying 9. It's 10 for crying out loud.
Is this better? Like I'm at 3,100K, and I go down to 3,050, and it's a huge change. This is one thing I don't like about these lights. It's a huge jump.
Yeah, I mean, I like a little bit of an amber, the softness to your face now, but you're brighter, and it has more of a blue. Yeah, more of a blue look.
Yeah.
When it's higher. Now, if you can add a little amber to that, then that would be perfect.
And that's the problem. I can't, here's just one little tap, boom.
Well, that's what filters are for. Not filters like Instagram filters, but like gels. Get a little, get a minus green gel. All you need to do is, it's not going to look pretty, but you do what I do. You get some clothespins, you fucking connect that shit.
Old school, yo.
Old school. Old man shit. Anyway, guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. I need some strength in my voice today. That's 888-659-3727. Questions, concerns about your hair loss, this is your place. We give you the truth. That is it. Now, there are people out there who will say, well, they don't really, or they deny the fact that we give you the truth. But those are the people who we are telling the truth about.
Aha. Well said.
Let's take a call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
My name is James, and I'm from Virginia.
James from Virginia. How are you, man?
Hello, James.
I'm doing good.
Good.
Hello.
I'm glad to hear that. What's up?
My question is, would you ever, you're talking in, uncertainties, would you ever consider surgery if you cannot tolerate finasteride? Just because the unknown of 5-10 years down the line is just, it is unknown. What are your chances of success when you don't know what your progression is going to be, and the only thing that really will hold on to your hair is in fact finasteride?
Okay, so are you saying that you have issues with finasteride and you're considering surgery?
Yeah.
Look, there's no guarantees. It really depends. Jesus, on what I'm dying on the air right now, on what you want in life, and if you could be happy with if you are a candidate for surgery, preserving or, growing back some hair or getting a full-looking head of hair for, say, 5, 6, 7 years, if that would be something that you'd be satisfied with, and also the potential of seeing some scars down the line, the potential of just not really having what you'd like for a lifetime, then, yeah, if you make a good candidate for surgery and you have reasonable expectations, then it's a possibility. Right, Joe?
No, it is a possibility. And I think that I think that I'm sorry, what was the caller's name? James? Is that your name?
Yes.
James from Virginia.
James,
Yeah, okay. So James, I think that one thing that we need to step back and look at is what you said about not having any idea what your future holds. If you go to a specialist and you understand your family history, then you do have an idea. It also depends on your age, but there are factors that people with experience
50.
will consider. You're 50 years old?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have
well, we have a
pretty
stronger
classic-
idea. Yeah. Because
I have classic
the
bitemporal
pattern
loss. Yeah.
Yeah, the pattern that you're losing in is pretty well established at this point. Like there's generally not going to be any major surprises where you might be a Norwood 3A at this point, and then 5 years from now you'll be a Norwood 17. Like it happens, but it's very rare. And in my opinion, it shouldn't be completely dismissed, but it shouldn't really play that much of a role as opposed to you being 25. There's a huge difference with how the downside is calculated for you. So ultimately, if you did have a few less years on the mileage clock, where maybe say you were 30, you would want to look at the family history. You would want to look at the visual indicators that specialists can recognize and come up with a plan based on potential worst case scenario. And I'm hearing myself, I'm hearing feedback. Spencer, do you hear that? Is there you hear the 3-second delay?
No.
Okay.
No, I hear you clearly as well.
Well, I'm hearing myself, and it's distracting. But I think ultimately, being 50 years old and you just got some temporal recession, if I caught that right, I think that you're in a much stronger position than most people to make a decision moving forward if you've, all the caveats, if you've done all the proper research, if you've decided that, every other option out there isn't an option, including not doing something about it, like you absolutely have to do something about it, then, yeah, I think it's, you're in a safer position than someone half your age, that's for sure, if you don't want to take medication moving forward.
Okay.
But still don't go crazy with the graft count and lowering your hairline to your nose. Be responsible, be natural. Have yourself a natural approach with the design and everything. You should be okay.
I guess my consideration in this is, if you have kind of that classic vertex type pattern, and they take care of that, and then you have the kind of the classic bitemporal, and they'll fix the front. What if you have aggressive loss in between down the line, and then if it looks, I can't imagine how unnatural that would look. You got a tuft of hair in the vertex, you got a framing in the front, and then in between you have this gap because you're uncertain of what appears. The last thing in the world I would want to do is take a step back 5 or 10 years from now because I'm a little bit weak right now and creating
that's a great concern. Like it's a great point. But one thing that people don't understand is that barring your finances being a hurdle, you're not going to blow your load in one shot. Like you're not going to lose all your donor hair just from doing your hairline. Unless you you're in the smallest percentile possible for something like that to happen. But when you're continuing to lose, and if that issue is starting to manifest, you got a lot of time to figure that out. And even if everything in the interior mid scalp did
Yeah. One other question is it typical to have kind of these, and it's a reputable position that you guys have is well known, to do this telehealth and kind of go through, send some pictures, and actually never meet the physician, although he has great credentials, and then you just show up there and do it?
A couple of decades at this point. At least there were some guys early on who started to do that.
It happens. Is that a bad plan? That's a bad plan, never to meet this fellow, regardless of credentials. Send some pictures, speak with staff, and then here I am.
I think it depends on Joe's
It's not the worst.
Because Joe has a lot of experience with this. I think it depends on whether or not the clinic and the physician tell you, listen, really this is an online assessment. We get a pretty good idea, but when we meet you in person, things may change, and we may end up not being able to perform surgery altogether. I mean, that's the worst case scenario. Or we're either going to, have to extend different options. You may not be a candidate for a certain option. You may not be a candidate for the number of grafts that they promised you. There's a lot of variables.
Okay.
Your scalp elasticity is not something that they could really get a great sense of online. I mean, to some degree, if you're a real expert, you can, but it's still not the same. Jay?
The best plan is to hop on a plane and fly to different places that you're interested in to have a face-to-face. But, even before, pre-COVID, that was the best thing to do. But most people wouldn't. With COVID now, post-COVID, it's more difficult. So this telehealth, as you put it, it does make a lot more sense. But just go in knowing that there's a potential for when you arrive that the doctor will say, you know what, this doesn't make sense. I don't think this looks right or that looks right. Or to a lesser extent, they may say, let's change the plan. Let's talk about alternatives because I think that this would be a better route for you. And also on your side, be prepared to leave. Like talk to the clinic and say, what happens if I get there and me and the doctor don't jive? Like I'm not feeling it. I don't feel comfortable with his attitude or with the bedside manner that I'm getting, and I just don't want to be there any longer. What happens then? And use that as your guiding force, your guiding light. Because I mean, a lot of clinics will say, well, you can leave, but you lose your deposit, and you got to be in a position to where you're like, it's worth it to me. Because you got to feel good about your final decision, and your final decision is final only when you get there and you say yes, and you're in the chair. You can say no at any time. So never forget that.
Sure.
All right, Matt?
All right. I appreciate it. I appreciate your candor. Thanks for your information.
All right, man. Listen, good luck. Let us know
Right
what
on.
you decide to do. Take care.
Thank you.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, guys. My name is Jason, calling from Ohio.
Hey, Jason.
And so I just want to vent a little bit first before I get to my question.
Yeah.
But just kind of give you my brief recap. Started losing my hair very young, early 20s. Shaved my head, like buzz cut, late 20s. Absolutely hated the way I looked. Went in and got a transplant. Got a good result. I went to Dr. Haber, by the way, in Cleveland.
Okay.
Who I feel is a very reputable surgeon. You guys would know better than I do. But so I've had 3 total. The first one was good. I still had enough natives, I think, to give me good coverage. But then, like, the native hair, just kept gradually going away. And I always wanted to get more and more. So I went back for the second and third one. I had from the hairline to the mid-scalp done, a light dusting on the crown, and the very back is untouched. And I'm going to be, I would have been a Norwood 6, by the way. And so now I'm approaching 40, and it's the density is not there. If you guys were to look at me, you wouldn't think that I had a transplant because I have nowhere near full coverage. I've did the whole bit, finasteride, Rogaine, the whole bit. Last year, I guess, like, my last stand for any kind of regrowth is I did get exosomes off of Dr. Haber. As far as what that did for me, it definitely held on to what I had. If any growth was minimal, just very fine hairs in my crown. Didn't really.
How much did he charge
the very
you?
back. I think it was somewhere between $200 to $2,500.
Okay, so those were Ohio prices.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for you. That's actually pretty cheap.
Yeah, and maybe he gave me a break because he's seen me so many times, and he said, "Look, I know that he could have given me a break on the price. I don't know. I mean, they've always been great to me.
Yeah.
The times I've met with them and such." Didn't really get the result from the exosomes, so I'm not in a position right now. The problem is I have a wide scar. After the 3rd surgery, I got a wide scar. And so now I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because I'm getting tired of painting my damn head. And it's just frustrating because, like, everything I've tried up there hasn't really worked as well as I would like. And I've already invested a bunch of money in this. And so I haven't shaved I don't want to shave my head down to the bone. I would prefer to, if I had to shave it, just to buzz cut it. But the problem is with that wide scar, if you buzz cut it, the SMP is not going to, there's probably going to be a gap there, correct, of hair sticking out and then the flat dots. So my question is, if I were to go in, if I were to go in, I'll let you guys kind of respond. So if I were to go in and get some grafts implanted into the scar, would that help that gap if I were to go the buzz cut with SMP?
It would.
Does that make sense?
It won't be. No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, I've had grafts in my scar, and yeah, I completely understand what you're talking about. The challenge is where, grafts into scar ideally is to camouflage the scar when your hair has some length to it, because when you shave it, it's still never the same. It can reduce that gap issue that you're talking about, especially from the profile where the gap is more visible. But you've probably got not just a gap issue to deal with, but you also probably have a dent or a depression in the scar line area that is visible from your profile. So if you shave your head down, you would see this indentation where it looks like a dent, like it looks like hat head when you wear a ball cap all day and your hair is longer, and it creates this inverse ridge. Yeah, so that's what your skin probably looks like as well if you were to shave down to your skin, like a 0 or a 1 guard. So when you have your hair at length and then you play, or like a 1 or 2 guard, and you've got hair placed into that scar, the challenge lies in the angle and the direction of those hairs after they've started to grow into the scar. And when the goal is to have that hair as flat as possible. So that in and of itself presents some challenges, because a lot of times when you place a graft into the scalp at a very flat angle, it depends on how the incision's made, but the graft will tend to move back into a higher plane exiting the scalp, as opposed to how flat it was intended to be. So it kind of rises up as it heals in the first few days, and so when it starts to grow out, it sticks out a little. So even that becomes an issue. All these little minor issues can compound to where when you buzz your head to a 1 or 0 guard and you've got those grafts in there, it doesn't really make much of a difference, because you're almost creating more problems. I would say ultimately, even if the direction, the angle isn't great and the density isn't great, because you never want to go in with full density into scar tissue, it still looks better than just having this hypertrophic looking scar tissue in the back of your scalp. So ultimately, it is a benefit, assuming everything grows or most of it grows, but just don't expect perfection. And that's the problem. Like when you go in for multiple strips, like you have and like I have, that next strip, there's no guarantee that the donor scar isn't going to stretch, and in fact, the probability goes up. And it depends on who you're going to. Like if they're experienced with doing multiple surgeries on the same scalp, and they can really judge that tension every centimeter along the donor incision, which changes. It changes like completely from one area of the scalp to just a few centimeters later. The tension can be different, especially post 1 or 2 surgeries prior. So, that's the problem, and you just don't know what's going to happen. And I think ultimately you've got options, but you're talking about shaving your head because your recipient is really thin. How thin are we talking? Like, is it something that could be reversed with another couple thousand grafts from, say, an FUE procedure? Like, would that maybe be enough to put you over the top?
So at our last consult, Dr. Haber said he could probably get 1,000 grafts for my recipient. Being that I have fine hair, and being that the last 2 I had, I didn't really get the amount of growth that I wanted. That's what makes me hesitant about going in to get any other work done on the crown, and on the back. The big thing for me would be just to fill in the very back, because that's just gradually going, where there's going to be a point where concealer's not going to work anymore. There's nothing to attach it to. But as it stands right now, I still do have hair on the very back.
Are you taking generic or name brand finasteride?
Generic.
Okay. Step 1, I'm not a doctor. Spencer's not a doctor. We don't play doctors on TV. But talk to a doctor about switching over to name brand, and try that for a year. Don't do anything else. Just try that. That's my opinion, based on my experience. But you could be in a situation where the generic that you're using isn't as effective as the name brand. So maybe try switching over to name brand. Give that some time to see if it's going to lock in what you have, or maybe even improve what you have. And if the latter is the issue, then your entire plan could be completely rewritten.
Yeah.
Good point.
For the better.
Yeah. One other question in regards to exosomes. When my last visit there, he mentioned that he was switching, I guess, brands or companies with his exosomes from, what is it, ExoGlow and ExoFlow? Are those the two?
ExoFlow, yeah, is one.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't remember which one he gave me originally, but he said this other one has a lot more, I guess, exosomes in it. I don't know the terminology. And he was, being that I didn't get the result I was looking for. Do you think would it be even worth going in and trying those again? I mean, I know it couldn't hurt, but again, coming back
wouldn't
on
even
ROI,
waste my time.
it's something I should. Okay.
Don't waste your time on that. Like, don't be the guinea pig. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I got this new better thing. It's supposed to have this, that, and the other. Okay, how many patients have you done with it?
And anytime there's something new and
results?
better, or if someone decides to make a switch like that, see if there's a conflict of interest. See if there's any connection to the company, things of that nature. I'm not saying this. Dr. Haber is an excellent doctor, but these are all important. This is all important information that I think anyone should have access to.
Correct. And to his credit, he did say, give us some time. I want to see, because he did, give that to some other of his patients, and he did say, give this some time. I want to see what kind of results they get out of this first.
Yeah,
so,
good. That's great.
I'm going to give him credit on that.
No, he deserves it. Good. I'm just saying, this has nothing to do with Dr. Haber himself. It's with any physician. Anytime, you've gone to someone for a while, they make a switch, they're deciding to use a different product, see why that's happening. You can't just necessarily take it on face value that they're making the switch because they believe this is better for some reason. Why is it better? And is there any type of financial connection? That's all.
Well, I really appreciate your time, guys, and I appreciate you this format you give us. It means a lot.
All right, man. Listen, good luck.
Thanks for calling.
And we're here if you need us, give us a call. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hi, my name's Michael. I'm calling from Las Vegas.
Hey, Michael. What can we do for you?
Hey, Michael.
Hey, thanks. Hey, guys. Thanks. Really appreciate you taking my call.
Sure.
Just a quick background. I'm in Norwood 5/6, bordering on 6. Not a very diffused pattern. I mean, my crown and my hairline are essentially gone. Have worn hair for about 11 years, but I'm going to take the plunge and do a hair transplant. I did multiple consultations.
How old are you?
39.
Okay, and when you say you're wearing hair, are you wearing a system? Are you just tired of wearing it? Has it affected your life adversely in some way?
I've never been comfortable with the permanent attachment that lasts for multiple days. So I'll usually go for a day at a time or 2 or 3 days at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's really the hassle, the upkeep, a goofy situation where maybe it could get pulled off or something like that. And I just looking for a more kind of, long-term solution.
Sure. And I guess I ask you this because, if it's not, upkeep and hassle is one thing. I mean, when you get a hair transplant, there's a lot of hassle, and there's a lot of upkeep, and there's a lot of worry down the line as well. You just never know exactly, how things are going to go. If wearing the hair isn't affecting you socially and professionally, and you're able to deal with it emotionally, then I would say, since you already have been in it for a long time, that's the way to continue. But, so the reason I ask you this question is it affecting you socially? How does it affect you emotionally? And is it something that you think is more of a hindrance to your life than something that's been enhancing your life?
Difficult to say. It's fairly undetectable. There's been a few times I've been dating and, it'll come up for one reason or another, and then you have to explain it. And I don't know. It's just kind of.
What has the reaction been when you've explained it?
For the most part, it's been accepted like really well, actually. Like I think women are doing so much nowadays to themselves, appearance-wise, that they don't. No one's really balked at it.
That's
so,
great.
Yeah, from like a social professional standpoint, it's been okay. I don't know. I think for me, kind of as a long-term solution and something where maybe it doesn't feel like I don't know. I guess the psychological implication is different for each person. It feels a little bit like it's like a ruse, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, not being entirely true, but of course, you know, if I had the skin tone, the facial features, the build, everything for shaving my head, that would be the option. But it's just for me personally, it's not a great look.
I get it.
So that's kind of what pushed me to the hair transplant. So I did consult with a handful of IHRS docs, some of the Joe Tillman docs. I know that there's some overlap there. And I guess my point where I'm at now is the difference between the ones, and forgive me, I know you've covered this, and I don't know how many times on past calls.
Dude, this is what we do, man.
Every 2 or 3 months, but the difference between the FUT and the FUE, read a lot about the pros and the cons, to each, but I think really probably my final sticking point is in deciding is the availability lifetime of grafts, right? And I've seen in many spots where they're saying that, well, you got to start with the strip, you got to start with the FUT, but then there's these FUE, almost FUE specific clinics that I contacted and said, that's kind of in the past. We can actually get really good coverage and density, almost as good as FUT. And maybe if we include beard grafts as well, is what they're saying. And so, I'm just a little confused.
You should be confused because in my view, that's just part of the sale. Even with great doctors and even with great clinics, you have to understand that there are doctors. It's the practice of medicine in this field who believe that FUT could cause long-term issues and issues with direction of growth in the donor and in changing the integrity of your scalp and all these things, which are true. And it is true that you can move as many grafts now using FUE as you can with FUT, but you can't move as many completely, or at least thought to be completely DHT resistant grafts. That's just the way that it is. When you do a strip, you're getting 100% of that sweet spot. Every graft that is every follicle, follicular unit in that strip can be utilized and placed in the balding areas. You can't do that with FUE. So you have to go above what's considered to be the normal safe zone and below and off to the side as well. And that's also when they start to offer adding in beard hair because they need to make up the graft somehow. So in the long run, is your transplant going to last as long? I mean, odds are that you're going to get probably more miniaturized grafts or hair that was transplanted in the future than you would have if you were able to use more of the sweet spot. And there could be a lot of issues down the line. But you also have immediate issues with strip, and you could also have long-term issues with strip. So you have to understand what you're getting into and understand the reality of it. So if a salesman is telling you that they can do what they used to do, or that's old technology, or that's an old way of thinking, that's just because they're not doing it, and they're not selling that anymore.
Good point. It's true. And the real difference between FUT, like an experienced FUT surgeon, an experienced FUE surgeon, experienced FUT surgeon is actually a surgeon. Like they're doing actual, real surgery that requires a lot more skill. I'll go ahead and say it's a lot more skill on the macro scale. Like there so many more things go into dealing with the donor properly, with strip removal than with FUE or donor removal via FUE, and the difference has to do with being able to judge skin tissue so that you know how wide of a strip to take, so you know how to bring the two edges together properly without causing stretch back. And I mean, the list goes on. With FUE, which is very difficult in and of itself, the challenge for basically the first 10 years of its existence was just to get it to grow. Like that was the challenge. How do you get this little follicle out with this little tiny punch 3,000 times in a day and have a high survival rate?
Mm-hmm.
The focus on the donor area, on donor management and preventing it from looking like a pack of rabid moths have attacked you, that's a fairly recent development in the niche. Like over the past 10 years, it's become more of a concern because they started to understand how to get the grafts out properly. They started to understand how to ensure a higher survival rate. So then they could switch over to the new problem. Well, shit, we took out all these hairs in the back of this guy's scalp, but we did it from a 4x4 inch patch, and you can see the patch. How do we fix that? So that's where it's like, remember that, Spencer? It's like,
yeah.
Oh well, we'll take out FUE grafts, and I'm sorry, these idiots would take out 3,000 grafts from along the strip line where you take out an FUT.
Unreal.
It's like, what the fuck's wrong with you? It's like, so it took 10 years to get past that, and then finally they're like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done it like that. And hindsight's always 20/20, but point being is that it's not yesterday's technology, because most FUE surgeons today couldn't do a proper strip to save their lives. It's a very meticulous procedure that has to be done properly each and every time.
Got it.
That's my rant.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So get back to your like you originally. I cut you off with a question, but you're talking about you're 39 years old. You're Norwood 5-6 diffused-ish, I think is what you said. You're talking about the consultations that you've been on, and what should you do. So continue that line of discussion. I'd like to hear more.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, I've gone, embarrassing, gone down the rabbit hole just doing so much research about it, but I feel comfortable with these 2 or 3 that I've found. Like I nothing's guaranteed, I know, but as far as like giving myself the best possible shot, I feel comfortable with these clinics. But I guess the final piece of it is that you use the phrase donor management, and if you have an FUT, if you start with FUT, you may have more grafts available over the course of your lifetime. So I'm on finasteride. It's been great. Like I don't have any problems, but maybe in 10 years it stops working, or there's a side effect, or something comes out. I don't know. I'm just trying to think in the future. I would hate to jump in and do FUT, to expend the donor. So I mean,
well, you're going to expend the donor no matter what.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could do FUE. You're just going to have a linear scar. But if you do, FUT. But if you do FUE, you're going to be expending the same. They're going to try to get the same number of grafts. They're just going to be removing it from all over the back of your scalp.
Yeah, thought being, if you're a very advanced Norwood, you might do a strip first, and then later, if you needed to go back to do an FUE procedure or an additional FUT, that might be possible. So, like, just globally, on my scalp, the number of grafts that are available, you're saying there is no difference, or there is if I'm
you will be able to utilize more hair grafts if you do a hybrid procedure of strip and FUE. 100%. And we're talking about more. Even if a physician decides to go outside of your safe zone, you're going to get 100% of whatever sweet spot they're able to remove. So if they remove 2 strips, 100% of those strips are going to be able to be dissected into follicular units, and every hair is going to be able to be used, or every follicle. You cannot do that with, as Joe was trying to express when he gave you that, gave the example of the guys who were taking out every graft from a strip, basically a 4-inch strip, and it's completely bare. You can't do that with FUE. So the only way, to answer your question, get the most grafts, you have to do a hybrid, period. If you're concerned about what's going to happen in the future, if you can no longer take finasteride, or if you have to eventually shave your head, once you're cut, you're cut. And here's another thing you have to think about. Right now you're wearing hair, so you basically are probably wearing a unit that looks like you have a full head of hair. Are you going to be able to accommodate that appearance with hair transplant surgery?
I was about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's some logistics involved there for sure, especially how long it's going to take to grow in afterwards, and it'll never have the density of what I have with the hair system. So yeah, those are definitely things 100%. That have been.
And if you don't have, if you go through the surgery, and then you wake up after it's grown in, and you're like, I don't really like this. I liked the way I looked better with my system. How would you feel?
Yeah, I'd be out quite a bit of money, but I guess I could always go back to the system. Really,
you can, but it also depends on where they remove the hair. If they're really aggressive on the sides, and where the system blends into your natural hair. Then it may be more difficult to wear the system if they're really aggressive when they remove the hair. So these are all things you have to take into consideration. I'm not telling you not to get out of your system and not to get a hair transplant, but you've been dealing with it and wearing it for 11 years, from a young man to a guy who's almost 40. So you have a lot of experience with it. You know what it entails. You know what the downsides and the drawbacks are. Surgery is a whole new game, man. You're entering a whole new realm. You have to just be prepared for anything.
Okay. All right. That helps.
And I don't want to discourage you from moving on if that's what you need to do. I just want you to have a realistic point of view.
Do you like you addressed this earlier? Like you don't have the complexion or the head shape or whatever you said to where shaving isn't an option. That kind of puts you, just that alone kind of puts you further into the FUT side of things. And people like you, like you're in a position where you've had plenty of experience with a hair system, so you're comfortable with it. Like right now, it's kind of annoying because you know what the options are. But Spencer asked you earlier about the prospect of sticking with it, and you could do that if you felt like you needed to. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I was kind of, I guess I was resigned to that up until I got serious about researching this all again, and just a few years ago. So yeah, it is a possibility. It's just not ideal.
Well, okay, so here's another option that very few people can take advantage of, and I say that because I've had personally a lot of people come to me and ask me if I could, talk to them about the option, but it's not available to them because they haven't started wearing hair or they haven't worn it for very long. But guys like you are in a position where you could maybe even consider going to have a good hairline transplanted and still wear hair behind it. That way you get the real hairline that you can't get with a hair system, but you can maintain the density throughout the top and the back that you can't have with a hair transplant. And it's the best of both worlds, assuming everything goes great. And if it's something that, like if you look at hair transplant surgery, I'm presenting this to you as an option to just keep in the back of your head. if after all the research you do, you decide, you know what, hair transplant surgery can't give me the look that I'm used to. But you still want to have like a natural hairline that you don't have to worry so much about with a hair system. That's an option.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting idea. I will keep that in mind because the hairline's okay, but yeah, it's not as good as what a transplanted hairline could look like. So that could be a good option. I'll keep that in mind.
All right, man. Well, listen, good luck. Don't rush into anything. And, there are, again, I do believe that there are systems out there, or, even if you decide to use two systems, a frontal and a back, which would be a pain in the ass, but you could have a very natural front hairline with some of these disposable systems as well. So just, don't rush into anything, man. Surgery's there. It's always going to be there. But once you're cut, and it's a road that you're going to have to travel, and a journey that it could be really powerful and empowering for you and life-changing in a good way, or it could just be a real pain in the ass. So.
Okay.
All right, man. Good luck.
Awesome. Appreciate your time, guys.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
He's going to get a transplant. 888. 659-3727. That's 888-659-3727. I get it, but there's part of me that thinks, wow, this guy's been wearing for 11 years, and he's had no real negative feedback, at least from what he told us. I'm sure it's not easy.
Could be
go ahead.
Yeah, it's a situation of grass is greener on the other side. It's where he's okay where he is, just kind of getting more and more interested in what could be. Don't be. Yeah. Ultimately, just keep what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing.
I mean, if you can deal with it. But yeah, I mean, I would say that in life in general, the grass is never usually greener.
Yeah.
Trust me. Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. That's 888-659-3727. We have lines open, so if you want to call us, give us a call. Otherwise, we're going to call it a night. So we had a pretty good show so far.
Yeah, I think so. Good callers.
Good callers.
Content.
So I'll give you a few minutes. Guys in the chat room, guys who are just listening, who may be in their car, whatever, give us a call. 888-659-3727. I don't feel like vamping, Joe. So anything, you want to talk about anything?
Just so much going on right now. It's like I'm still trying to put this studio together. You can see I got, my wide angle shot. You can see got another panel there. And I got another panel up in here that you can't see in the thing. But I also have two big panels here that are 8 feet high and 4 feet wide.
Oh, wow.
That I bought from a guy in downtown a few days ago. He does audio editing for movies.
Oh, wow.
And so so these are legit. And I actually hung them, like they're heavy as hell. I hung one myself. The other one's just standing there. I guess I still have to hang that. But I'm going to have to bring someone in to actually help because there's some high frequency reverberation that's really annoying me. Like I don't hear it right now, but when I'm just in here talking on the phone or something, I can hear it. It's a real pain in the ass. But everything else is coming together. Getting some new things for the living room and just the whole pad is coming together. Really happy about it. What else? Got a live stream coming up this Sunday. 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, 12:30 Eastern time, and I think 7:30 Greenwich Mean Time with IAHRS and Hair Transplant Mentor accepted members Dr. Erica Bonsall and Dr. Pradeep Sethi from Eugenics.
They love live
streams.
Live
stream. They do.
They really love the live streams.
And they're fun people. They're nice people to talk to. And so everyone's watching this now and in the replays later on, feel free to watch and submit your questions because we'll be answering questions live on this channel. So check that out.
And that's it.
That's about it. Yeah.
We're just going to give out the websites.
Okay.
Guys, thebaldtruth.com for archives of this broadcast. We put them up every once in a while. But hopefully we're going to start doing that more often, as I always say. But I'm a very busy person dealing with a lot of shit as well. So I am just haven't been doing it. What are you gonna do? But you could always get the archives on Joe Tillman's personal YouTube channel. It's not his personal YouTube channel, but I guess it is. It's his YouTube channel, which is the Hair Transplant channel. That's youtube.com/Joe Tillman. That's youtube.com/Joe Tillman. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so that you can get notified whenever we go live, whenever Joe puts up one of his educational videos. And it's a tremendous resource that, I was very happy. Oh, now the phones are ringing. I was very happy when Joe said to me, listen, let's put the show on YouTube. I'm going to start this channel. I was like, all right, I think that's a good idea. It's a good way to move in the direction of YouTube without me having to actually do my own channel. So I liked it. Yeah. hairtransplantmentor.com is Joe Tillman's personal, I can't think. His personal website, hairtransplantmentor.com. Everything Hair Transplant Mentor is on there. And if you don't know who the Hair Transplant Mentor is, you're looking at him. Why is he a hair transplant mentor? It's because, in this field, he's had 10 hair transplants. He's been in the field for 20 years. And let me tell you something. What he says is the gospel. Got to give him his props.
I'm going to keep that clip.
International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. That's IAHRS.org for if you're considering surgery and you want to start to do your research. That is your safe place, in my opinion. Founded the organization about 20 years ago. We have had a lot of applications. I guess it's probably more than 2,000 now in 20 years. And I think that we've accepted a total of about 75 doctors and removed some, and some have died or, whatever, dropped off the face of the earth, or, maybe I've had some issues with a couple of them that had to be removed. But we kind of keep it tight because, sadly, this is an industry where most of the guys and ladies who are performing hair transplant surgery, sadly, are not performing it to state-of-the-art standards. And we try to create a safe environment for people to start to do their research. So that is IHRS.org. Check it out. And I'll mention the forum, baldtruthtalk.com. You can check it out if you're interested in checking out a hair loss forum. Now, and also UK show. I have 2 new episodes out. Just put an episode up this week. It's on ape2gentleman.com. That's ape, like an ape, APE, 2gentleman.com. That's me and Spencer Stevenson taking calls from the UK. Had a really, powerful call from a very eloquent, articulate woman who called into the show today, asking about her trying to help her 16-year-old son. And it was a very heavy conversation, but I think very enlightening as well. What a great mom she is. So that's ape2gentleman.com. We'll take this one phone call that's holding on, and then we're going to call it a night. Okay. All right, caller, you got in. What can we do for you? Hey, you're on the air.
You guys there?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Hey, so it's Jimmy from California again.
Hey, what's happening, man?
Hello, Jimmy.
Hey, I got a challenge for you guys. You guys up for it?
Yeah, I'm up for it.
All right. So you guys have obviously seen FUE donor areas probably like several hundred or thousands of times in your life, right?
Seen a lot.
So do you think if I were to show you a picture of a donor area where all the excisions are on one side and in one frame of the picture, do you think you could guess how many excisions were made in the donor area?
I couldn't. No.
You think you can?
No.
No? What about you, Joe?
It would take a lot of time, and I wouldn't be interested.
Like down to like 100 or 200, whatever, plus or minus level of accuracy.
Maybe, but why are you asking?
No, not interested.
Why are you asking?
It's not about interest. It's about you asked if we could, and I don't know. Sometimes it's always a guessing game, but based on the photo that you just sent me, I'll go ahead and take a guess at this. Let me try to get this photo up on screen, if that's okay. Can I put this on the screen?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Let me try to grab this. Because I'm looking at the extraction pattern, and you got a lot of extractions concentrated at the bottom, so it kind of makes it difficult. I'm going to guess that it looks like about a 1 millimeter punch was used.
That's 2,800 grafts. 2,800 grafts right there. I have no idea, dude. I really have no idea.
Pretty high up in that donor region too.
Yeah. And this is your head? This is your head, Jimmy?
No, thankfully not. Some other poor forum members.
Okay, well, yeah. Then if it's not your head, then I can tell you that this is not great. This is not good, man.
Yeah.
This is
but how many excisions do you think there are?
It looks to me like maybe 1,800 to 2,200.
So it stands in reason, like the amount of grafts in the procedure should be somewhere right around there, right? 1,800 to 2,200, did you say? Right?
Well, that's what it looks like, guessing, yeah.
Yeah, so the number is actually, I counted it, and actually Mr. Rolandis had counted it as well. And
fucking Mr. Rolandis.
And it was 1,440 something for an 804 unit graft procedure. Can you believe that?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And the patient here was, still in his 20s.
Yeah.
And it's close to 700 units that were completely wasted. Out of 800, like more than 700 were thrown out, discarded. Yeah. 804 went into his head, into his recipient site, and 700 were discarded.
So how do you know they were discarded? And how do you know what was put into the recipient site, besides what he paid for?
Because the patient posted a thread in the forum, and he said, "Please help me gain peace of mind." And he posted this picture, and he told us that his procedure was 800 grafts. But when he looked at his recipient area, he's like, "No, this cannot be 800 grafts."
Yeah, Jesus.
So,
and where was it done?
Take a wild guess.
Turkey. Yeah. Jesus.
So I can tell you that this patient here, and he and I shared the same surgery. But it was just shocking to see that this exists.
Wow. Well, it does exist, and it's happening every single day, and it's happening to thousands of people every week.
This is actually pretty low key compared to a lot of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I when I guessed the extractions, I mean, I was trying to be a bit generous because I know it's like the size of the extractions throws off the estimate. Like if they were smaller extractions, I would have guessed higher. But like I said, that bottom area, like where they're really put side by side, that's the tricky part. And I feel bad for what the donor will look like in 6 months.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's one of your favorite topics as well. So this was brought up in the forum, and the patient did say he wanted his post to be taken down because it was causing him a lot of stress and everything. But
so now
moderator, what's that?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish your
The
sentence.
forum moderator said, even with these pictures here, and with the patient saying that he counted it himself, and with Mr. Rolandis posting a picture where he showed that he counted all the excisions, the forum moderator says, "I see no problem with this."
Jesus.
And the patient said, "Please take this down. It's causing me too much stress." And the moderator gladly obliged. And the surgeon got away with one, dodged a huge bullet here. Because
was the surgeon a contributing sponsor?
Of course, yeah. And the surgeon was the former moderator's surgeon himself.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it left a bad taste in my mouth because
San Francisco.
Oh, I said Turkey. He's like, yeah, it's Turkey.
Yeah.
So this is the U.S.
This is San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yep.
Scary, huh?
It is.
It's depressing.
Yeah. But yeah, anyone who can look at this can tell you that this is not the amount of excisions that you would see in a FUE donor for an 804 graft procedure, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you guessed 1,800 to 2,200.
Well, let me look. It's like, you know, even take away the issue at the bottom of the extraction pattern. Like there's still like in any situation, you don't know how this is going to turn out. Like it could actually be okay as far as the donor once it heals. What you're saying about the number of mulligans on the extractions, that's a different issue. Like that sucks. Like there's got to be a point where the doctor is saying, you know what, maybe we should stop this surgery. Because when you have a kill rate, that's what was it? How many were like was it 50% kill rate?
Yeah, almost 50%.
45.
Yeah.
Right. My count
So,
was 45.
Yeah. So I don't remember the exact numbers you were throwing out, so I was just spitballing it. But yeah, there's got to be a point where the doctor says, maybe we should back off on this and give the patient, you know, a refund for the difference or you know, however many that he might have prepaid for to begin with. But for anyone to defend this, to look at this and say, I see no problem with it,
right?
I'll refrain from saying more.
Yeah, I mean, you're a pawn to defend.
But all you guys still, you know.
Oh, you fuckers want to go to the forums.
Still go to the forums and still make those forums possible for these guys to, you know, to earn from them. It's just
still make it possible for these dipshits to manipulate those that don't know as much as you do. Because there are people there are people reading that where he's saying, oh, I see no problem with this, going, okay, well, he said that he sees no problem with it, so it must be okay. I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks for that.
Hey, thanks for taking on the challenge, guys.
All right,
As
man.
always, you guys do a great job.
I appreciate the call.
Thank you much.
All right.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, Joe, why don't you take the picture off, man? I'm depressed enough today. Take one more call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, how you doing? Name is Steve. I'm in Michigan.
Geez.
Hey, Steve. What's happening?
Well,
Way to bring a room down,
I just
guys.
popped over to the channel.
What was that?
And, exactly. I just popped over. I saw this. And I've had, you know, multiple FUT surgeries since probably starting around 89, 90. And I turn on and I see this, and I'm still trying to figure out the fascination between how FUE has become such a thing. Is it strictly all the marketing? Because, you know, I watch all the videos. I talked to my own doctor about this with the transection rates and the thinning out of your donor area, especially for these young guys. Is it just the marketing these days? Because, like I said, I've had all FUT surgeries. I just had one back in January at about between 15 and 1,600. So a total over my lifetime of about 6,000 grafts. And while I do have a little stretching because of the multiple scar surgeries, and I'm going to have a little bit of a touch-up when I've got the year grow out, I see this, and this is, as you guys have said, just shocking. I don't understand why guys go, you've got to shave off all your hair, and you get really beat up like this. I mean, what is it? What is it?
Well, you don't. I mean, you're not getting beaten up with every case. Doesn't look like this. I've seen some really refined FUE, donor areas where they've removed 2,000.
Don't say clean.
Yeah, refined.
Don't say clean.
Refined. 2,000 grafts or more, and I mean, the punctate wounds are tiny. Now, those wounds will probably heal pretty well, but still, I mean, honestly, I was a little shocked that was done in the U.S., Joe, to be honest.
I mean, the standard was what on those, an FUE punch is about 7 mil, 8 mil maybe?
That's not the standard. I'd say it ranges between 8 and 1, 0.8 and 1.
Okay.
But,
That's, yeah.
Listen, this is for real, man. And there's a lot of young guys that are getting taken advantage of. A lot of young guys who, it's not because they've decided to go for FUE. It's because they may not have done their research, or they thought they did their research, and like this one caller said, I mean, they're sponsors of different platforms, and it's just the whole industry's fucked up, man. That's all I'm going to tell you. The whole industry's fucked up.
So when doctors, there's a few that push about gold standard FUT. Is that just their marketing toward that? Because it certainly seems the logic.
Because it's not the gold standard anymore. It hasn't been the standard for 10 years.
Is there no logic in, if you're a particularly young guy, to kind of get the most quantity and kind of ding your donor area as minimal as possible, at least when starting out, for like a first big bang surgery?
I didn't quite hear that. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, is it false? Is it like, antiquated knowledge that for like a young guy, why would they not do an FUT when you can get, at least the surgeons say, a lot more quantity, and you aren't beating the hell out of the donor area, at least on the very first surgery, knowing that down the road you're probably going to need more?
Well, I think, like, I'm not completely on the side of doing FUT first and getting a large session first to knock out as many grafts. I'm a big believer in choosing the procedure for the patient based on a litany of issues, a whole list of variables. And I don't think, look, you've been around for a long time. I don't know how long you go back on the online world, but I used to be carrying the torch for FUT, and I would debate and I would destroy people with my debating about why FUT was so much better than FUE in every situation, full stop. There was no situation where FUE was better, and it all came down to the bad growth rates. That was it. Because FUE just did not have the growth rates of FUT, assuming both were in the hands of good surgeons, until 2009, maybe? And I started to notice that, okay, FUE is actually getting better. More doctors are able to get a high success rate as far as the growth. And it's becoming more consistent. Like, more and more of their cases are having high growth rates. And the number of clinics that were able to do this was very small, but it started to grow. And that's when I stopped saying that FUT was superior for everyone, because there are situations where FUE is superior, especially for people starting out, because I think that, like, for instance, a younger guy, like you said, maybe doesn't have a whole lot of hair loss. Maybe, let's say, a Norwood 3, just for discussion. Does an FUT make sense for him? I can't say that it does. Like, it might make a lot of sense for him, but it depends on what this guy's goals are, what his family history is, and if he does decide, even if the growth is a side issue, we're talking about the donor. Even if he does decide, maybe this isn't for me, or maybe I'd like to try an FET later, a smaller surgery isn't going to impact what an FET can accomplish. Again, given certain characteristics are in place. So, I'm bouncing around here, but the point is that FUT is not the answer in every situation. I understand, like someone like you that's had multiple FUTs and you've had success. I get it. God bless you. I'm in this, like, who are you talking to? I've had so many FUTs as well. But it's not a one-size-fits-all scenario. I'm very grateful, actually, for FUE today, because it does offer opportunities. It does offer solutions that FUT does not. But when you go back to the basics of it, the only reason FUT exists, the only reason it exists, is because Ray Woods in Australia did not want to perform FUT. He came up with FUE, or the Woods technique, and I have to believe it had something to do with reading about Okuda and the other Japanese pioneers from the 1930s. And he came up with this idea that strip surgery is barbaric, and he would show the worst of the worst donor scars. He would show the worst of the worst plug jobs and call it strip work that he had to fix. And he got the ball rolling. And anyone that has half a brain cell that's looking for an opportunity will see that and run with it. And a lot of people did. And thankfully, a lot of the people that did early on were North American pioneers like John Cole, like Alan Feller, even Alan Bauman. Like he was one of the first guys.
Yep.
They started this in North America, and the great thing about FUE early on is it was being performed only by strip surgeons, and they understood the value of microscopes. They understood the value of an actual follicular unit. Today, the majority of clinics out there are not doing follicular unit extraction. They're doing multi-hair graft extraction. It's a huge difference. And that's why I made a video several years back that's gotten a lot of traction, talking about the value of microscopes. It's a lost art. Most clinics have no idea the value of a microscope in hair transplant surgery.
Yeah, that seems ludicrous because it just seems so obvious.
Yeah.
Why would you not see exactly what you're doing?
Well, it would. Yeah, it does seem ludicrous. I was talking to Dr. Ken Anderson a few years ago, and I was telling him about this issue. He was mind blown. He was like, "You're kidding me." When I was talking about how most FUE clinics don't use microscopes, he's like, "You're kidding me. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they use microscopes? That's bullshit. You're kidding. You can't be serious." Like that's my Dr. Ken Anderson impersonation. It's like he could not grasp why, just like you, the common sense wasn't so common. It's just the way it is. It's because of what you were talking about earlier, the marketing. It's like people getting into this for the quick buck. You got majority of the clinics today are not specialist clinics. They're clinics that are using hair transplant surgery as an adjunct to their Brazilian butt lifts and their tummy tucks and their boob jobs and their lip jobs and all these other procedures that they do, where FUE hair transplant surgery is just another menu item that they offer. There you go.
Well, I was just curious, and I know I've got to let you guys go because you've got other folks probably want to get on, but knowing, Joe, where you were when you started all those years ago, today, with the technology of FUE for your first foray into, where you are now? Would you have gone FUE if it was then where it is now?
And I'm going to interrupt. Yeah, I love when people say technology, like technology's advanced so much in this field. It's like it's a joke to me. What? And it's not your fault. This is just the way that it's sold. There's no real technological advances. You know what people did? They're like, we got to figure this shit out. What Ray Woods is doing, and they got punches from A to Z and from Ellis, and they figure, let's try a 1 millimeter punch. Let's try a .08 punch, and then they started to develop their own devices. But it's old technology. It's an old procedure. And it's just kind of been remarketed and rebranded. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, my
100%.
first round of 50 were split plugs. I remember it, very well. 50, they did 50, 50, and 40. My very first surgery, it was Bosley, or a doctor from Bosley. Filled me full of saline, drilled them out, explained what they were doing, because I said, well, don't those look bad? They said, oh, these look great. And back then, you had a micrograft, which had maybe, 6 or 8. And they're like, God, these are going to look so good and soft. It's like, and you look at it, I'm like, oh, God, even back in 1990, I'm like, well, no. But, hey, you get something in there at the time, you're sort of happy with it. But I've had so many.
Why would he tell me anything wrong? He's wearing the white coat.
Yeah.
Well, for sure, yeah. I've had so many punched out in the years since to try to clean it up and soften it. It's ridiculous.
Well,
look, to answer your question, if today's refinements and abilities with FUE existed on March 18th, 2002, when I had my first repair surgery, no. Knowing now, knowing what I know now, I still would have gone the FUT route. Had it existed in '92, when I had my first 2-strip surgeries, absolutely, I would have gone through it with that mindset back then. But of course, today, knowing what I know, I wouldn't even change what I went through then, knowing now what I know, because going through that 9 years after those first 2 surgeries of suffering with this absolutely ridiculous look, this silly rat's nest of ant legs sticking out of my head for 9 years throughout my 20s, I wouldn't change it, because it made me who I am. I can talk to people face to face, look them in the eye. I can talk in front of large groups. It kind of toughened me up as far as how to deal with people in uncomfortable situations. Because when I had that crap on my head and nothing else camouflaging it, I had to do that every day. I was never in a position where I could wear a hat to work. So, yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I'm happy with my hair. I'm happy with where I am in life and how things turned out.
Cool. Well, thank you for letting me ask some questions and speak and kind of pick your guys' heads. And
you got it, man. Good luck. Thank you for taking the time to call. And sorry that you've been through what you've been through.
Oh, I'm happy now. Doctor's always like, you want another one? Like, guys would kill to have as much hair as you, but
yeah, well,
you always want more if you can.
I'm glad you came out the other side, man.
Cool. Thank you.
All right,
have a good weekend.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling.
All right, let's call it a night. We gave out the
Let's do it.
websites. Joe, thank you so much for a wonderful broadcast. Everyone who's tuned in, who was tuning in, and who called in, thank you for providing us and our listeners with great content. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid.